Today's the day. We are doing a bookshelf tour. I did build a third bookshelf and somehow it filled up so quickly. It really looks like I have an obscene amount of books, but I guess I do. I have been collecting books now for officially like 8 years. So today we're gonna do a fun bookshelf tour. I'm gonna go over all the little baubles and things and maybe mention a few favorite books. I'm definitely not gonna pull out every single book. So I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna go over every book because there's like over 300. That's just too many. Where to begin? That's like the question. My bookshelves, 2 of them are Billy bookshelves in the color oak. If your IKEA has it, you can grab them. I believe they're roughly around $80 to $100. They can get a little expensive. I bought mine secondhand because IKEA, as of the panoramic that has been happening, has not been stocking the Billy bookshelves, at least in Southern California. So I got them secondhand. And this third bookshelf, because I couldn't find a Billy bookcase that matched the color that I wanted, I got a third bookshelf on Amazon, which I'll link below. And I recently added these cute little ivies, ooh la la, also from Amazon, so I also will highly recommend. Okay, I felt like briefly just talking about this stack, which are my academic books. So in the middle, I have a lot of acting books like Respect for Acting, Acting on the Script, The Actor's Life. The Actor's Life I highly recommend by Jenna Fisher if you're interested into getting into acting and want to know what it's really like. Moving down to this shelf, which is interesting because I used to have only one white shelf and now like it extends all the way across. So first in this little corner I have all my manga, or not all of them, all my white mangas. So I used to read like Shugo Chara, Kitchen Princess, Azumanga. My obsession for mangas is very serious. But a fun little thing in the corner, that is a unicorn pooping glitter. My mom got me that, thanks Mom. This is a snow globe from an ex-boyfriend because he saw that I collected snow globes and I didn't have a California snow globe, so he got me one, which is supposed to be like a snowman that has melted because there's a, get it, there's a hat and like if you shake it around all the particles show like it's snowing. As for books in this section, I do have a couple favorite books in this section, like I'll Give You the Sun, that's kind of hiding over here. I want to grab it, but I'm too short and I'm trying to hold this camera steady. So I really like I'll Give You the Sun by Jenny Nelson, highly recommend. A Very Large Expanse of Sea by Tahada Mafi is also an amazing book. First and Then by Emma Mills is a Pride and Prejudice retelling that's top tier. How It Went Down by Kekla Magoon, also top tier. But most of these books I'm surprised I've actually read. And then I have a snow globe that my sister gave me from Alaska. I think we're just gonna move this way to the next shelf, which is more like a display because it's the middle shelf and I wanted to keep the middle shelf kind of light. It is a smaller petite bookshelf compared to the Billy bookshelf, so I didn't trust my building skills and the Amazon quality to be holding on to something heavy. Something you'll notice is that I have all of my like favorite series in the middle. So I have An Ember in the Ashes, the series, I think that's what the series is called, but it is by Saba Tahir and it is just a great YA fantasy. I still actually haven't read A Sky Beyond the Storm. I almost forgot what the title was. I was like Sky something. I actually haven't finished reading it. I've only read the first 3, cried a ton in the 3rd one, and now I'm like scared to go into the 4th one. Another book that is a favorite of mine is The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo, which is just like everything to me. I love poetry. I love how she writes in kind of open verse because it still tells you a narrative story, but it's still written poetically. I also have here my Jurassic World wristband. If you didn't watch the video where I explained that I stole this from Set, you should check it out. I'll link it below. I have a little LMU lion from the university I went to. And then I have a Black Comics Remix, which is an illustrated book about a bunch of comics by Black authors. And then this one I put here, even though I haven't read it, I just think, the cover is really pretty, even though it's kind of hiding. It's Don't Ask Me Where I'm From. I still need to read it. I have no thoughts as of right now because I still need to read it. Scooting over to the next shelf, still white, and then it kind of bleeds into a pinky color. Oh, and then right above are my comic books. So I have a small comic book collection, some Teen Titans, some Avatar, some Batgirl stuff. I have some also series from my childhood, like the Spider-Verse Chronicles, Judy Moody. I also have this collection. It's like a Marvel encyclopedia of all the Marvel characters. I have this character that my dad had. I don't know what anime it's from, but I feel like keeping it because he was gonna toss it and I'm like, no! So now I just hold on to it. I have a little turd pillow and Stitch plushie just for fun. Okay, now back to this white kind of pinkish shelf. Let's see, what do I have here? I have a lot of actually books that I need to read, specifically in the white section. I've been in the middle of Kindred forever. This is a poetry collection that Elizabeth Osvedo's in. Actually, In Cold Blood is probably the only book that I read in high school. I wish I could grab it, but I'm too short. It's the only book that I actually read in high school. I did not finish it though, fun fact. I still have like 30 pages to finish. There was a time jump and I didn't like it, so you know, what did 16-year-old Jess do? She just DNF'd it like a champ, and she was like, I'm gonna end the story where I want to. So I have Slay by Brittany Morris that I really love. Oh, I have Maureen Goo books in this little pink section. Somewhere Only We Know is a literal favorite of mine. If you like K-dramas, it's definitely, you just need to check it out. If you love rom-com-y, super fun, adventurous books, just check out Maureen Goo. Just do it. Do it for yourself. You will thank me later. So yeah, that's my like pink section. It's kind of hard to show you because I'm literally like trying to hold up the camera. Let me show you. That's how I've been filming this. I'm just like, can I see? This is what happens when you're 5'2". Okay, moving on. Okay, I can finally like be in frame and now hold books out to you because I'm a short person. Okay, let's talk about this pink shelf, which I always think red and pink look the best on bookshelves because I think there are a lot of white books and a lot of black books that are published just like aesthetically for color, and maybe like blue, but I feel like just red and pink are so vibrant. So yeah, pink section that bleeds into red. I also have Salt Lake Bittersweet, which is a beautiful book, and it's about a Cuban-American French girl who goes to France to study to be a culinary chef. She wants to be like a Michelin star chef, which is aggressive, and she learns that maybe your dream isn't what you should actually do. Like in high school you fantasize about being top tier and being so successful, but it's like, okay, but in real life, the amount of work that you'd have to do, would you be unhappy with that lifestyle? I have a manga series here that I read when I was younger, Me and My Brothers, which is a little problematic now that I'm a little older. Seeing that having romantic feelings for a brother, stepbrother, is just weird. Ooh, a fantasy series of mine that I really love that I haven't talked too much about is The Shadow Queen. There's like 4 books in this series right now by CJ Redwine, and they are magical retellings. I forget what this one's specifically about. I think it's about the evil queen. Yeah, Mirror, Mirror on the Wall. Who's the most powerful of them all? It's trippy. It's definitely cool. If you're a fan of like Marissa Meyer's work, you would definitely love this. Oh, I also have been talking everyone's ear off about Black Girls Must Die Exhausted. A great book. Highly recommend. As for trinkets on the shelf, we have this candle that's called Kel, which is funny because it's near a gathering of shadows. But yeah, this is Kel's candle. I don't light it because I'm not a candle person, but you know I have it. This is so sweet. I got this from my cousin. It is a wishing well, but sadly like the front where the sign is, I guess it doesn't look too bad, but it fell and it chipped the end. But it is like wishes for 10 cents and it's a little wishing well. I keep it facing this way just because there's no chipped part on this side. On to the next part of my red shelf. So this is again more so display things. Fun fact about this orange bear, my parents gave that to me when I got my first A in college. And you might be wondering looking at this, like what the heck are these 2 fabulous and beautiful books? Well, let me grab them and show you. This one is the collector's edition of Red Queen. It is stunning. Well, I love it because I love Red Queen. I'm very biased. But it's like dripped in red spine, and there's all these pretty images in here. It's a really pretty edition. Then we have another favorite retelling of mine, and this is a retelling of the Queen of Hearts So it's called Heartless by Marissa Meyer. I did get rid of the dust jacket just because I thought the dust jacket was pretty ugly in comparison to how beautiful this is, because it looks like a playing card, you know, a queen and a joker, which you know the story or this particular retelling why the Joker is important. Okay, and then I just have some favorite books over here. A Blade So Black, Monday's Not Coming, With the Fire and High, and The Devil's Thief by Lisa Maxwell. I didn't say author names, my bad, but yes, these are all books that I definitely really enjoyed. I'm still working on like the gradient, because obviously like it goes from dark to light, so it's not like perfect, but you know what? We're doing our best. So here we have some of our darker reds. I'm really excited to read Sister of the Snake soon. I recently got it from the publisher actually, and I have the audiobook, so I'm hoping to read it this March or in April. This is literally one of the sci-fis that got me into reading sci-fi, and that's Foundation by Isaac Asimov. Is that how you say it? Probably not. I'm always wrong. But a fun sci-fi I highly recommend, especially if you were like wanting to enjoy Dune but didn't like it because it was too long. Still need to read Night Circus. Haven't done that. Haven't touched the Throne of what's that series called? You know, the popular Sarah J Maas series. Haven't touched it. But I own them because my sister thankfully gave them to me. It's her favorite series, and I'm going to read them at some point to support my sister because she obviously really loves them. And then I also have the next Sarah J Maas series, House of Earth and Blood. Is that what it's called? Crescent City, what we all call it. Obviously, I very much enjoyed this book. And then, let's scoot over. Let's get a little closer. There's so much Sarah J Maas on the shelf. Wow, I'm surprised. Laini Taylor, a favorite author of mine. This book is just so beautiful and stunning, and it is everything, inside and out. Love it. Stranger Dreamer is definitely a favorite book of mine. Ooh, I found this amazing book in Powell's. I think you would call this Hume. Look how stunning this is. Do you see how beautiful this book is? So this is about a woman's experience who, I think she's Ghanaian, and she goes to like Japan. I don't know if it's specifically Tokyo, but she goes to Japan to teach English, and she like gets trapped by a bunch of spirits, and she's kind of spirited away. So I'm really excited to read this eventually because it gives me Spirited Away vibes by Miyazaki's films. You know what I mean? Okay, and then we have some more orange books here. So Christina Forrest is also a really great contemporary writer. If you like reading fun YA contemporary that talks about life and just cute things, and you get to ship a cute little couple. So Now That I've Found You is amazing. I'll talk about another one of her books later on, so stay tuned. Rebel Sisters, second in a duology. I read the first one, need to finish it, but Tochi Yamaguchi is, I wouldn't say a favorite author of mine just yet. I feel like I haven't read enough of his work, but he is definitely up there. Ooh, so this is the first snow globe I got when I traveled to Venice. I hope you can see it. Okay, and then as for the bubbles on the shelves, we have this little cute bridge that I again got from my cousin, and it's just super adorable. And this shelf is the orange to yellow to green. So there's a lot of blended colors on here. I used to have a lot more yellows, but I had to unhaul some of them because I didn't love them. A rule for me on my bookshelves is that I try to keep books that are above 3 stars that I think about often and would want to reread. I only want to collect books that I adamantly would reread, even if I don't end up rereading it, but that's kind of the goal. I don't want lots of books that I've read and then some of them I'm like, I liked it, but I'm never gonna read it. Does that make sense? Probably. I hope so. This shelf has a lot of books that I haven't read yet, and a lot of them are from recent hauls, but I have some favorites on here, like Queenie by Candace Carty Williams, which definitely made me cry, definitely triggered me. There's lots of trigger warnings in this book, so be warned. It's about a girl, I believe she's in the UK, and she's dating this guy who's dissing her and stuff. It's really about her experience being black in a culture that is very anti-black, and how it messes with her, how people sexualize her, how her family's against therapy, how she's really struggling to get a hold of her life and focus on what she wants because she's so busy worrying about other people and what she's supposed to be doing and all that stuff. Very important book, I think, but definitely go in knowing there's trigger warnings. This book is not for the faint of heart. Ooh, I also have Front Desk by Kelly Yang. This is a middle grade I've been dying to read ever since Kelly Yang came out with her story, talking about Asian hate and how much she really experiences it, even as a very successful author. And she also has a YA book that I really want to read. But I definitely just wanted to support, so I immediately bought the book, even though I haven't had the chance to read it yet. So I highly recommend going to support her. Next, we have like a favorite book from last year that I think a lot of people also really enjoyed, and the TV show is coming out. And if you watch the TV show, you might see someone in it. Maybe. So Daisy Jones and the Six, definitely a great, amazing book about a fictional band going up in like the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and it's just written in a very engaging way, kind of written in interview style, and everyone has like different memories of how things happened. So the story is unraveling, and you're kind of seeing how like opinionated and subjective life is. Let's see, I have a lot of favorites on this shelf. I just realized. Harbor Me by Jacqueline Woodson. Again, Jacqueline Woodson, all-time favorite. Uprooted by Naomi Novik, I really enjoyed. Raybearer, oh gosh, there's so many. Raybearer is an awesome YA fantasy. If you would have asked me as a kid what job I would have wanted, I would have said a mangaka because of this manga. It's like you can kind of tell how brown this book is. Like one of the first mangas I've ever read and really enjoyed, Strawberry Marshmallow by Ichigo Mashimuro. I loved it. I have the DVDs. Let me grab them. I literally have the DVDs of the anime version of this. It's just so cute. So this one isn't like a highly recommend. This is like a slice of life manga, which if you like slice of life, then I think you'll think this is very humorous and a fun series. But I have the 5 volumes, and this is just so near and dear to my heart. I have this candle that there's a character on here, their name nice and big, Castamon. I can't do names, y'all know me. But Smoky Vanilla, it smells great. Don't know who the character is. Probably said it when I opened the box that came with this bookish box. But now I don't know. So he hangs out there with the yellow books, just chilling. And then this, it's so funny. So many people ask me about this little door. It's very, like, not The Hobbit, but I guess kind of like a Hobbit store saying welcome. I actually got this from the dollar store. I think it was actually like $3 because, you know, the dollar store be lying sometimes. But yeah, I just got this at the dollar store one day, and I thought it was really cute, and I kept it. And I like to think that it is like your door to Narnia almost. So we have favorite books again. Fangirl by Ramble Ral, all-time favorite. One of those books that got me into reading. I cry all the time reading this book. I've reread it so many times. I love it. I feel like I am definitely Kath, very much introverted, very much into fictional worlds rather than a real world. Next is Color Me In by Natasha Diaz. Also a really like outstanding book in my opinion because it talks about being mixed race. So the main character is Jewish and black, and she's really kind of dealing with her identity when you don't feel like you're enough and people discount you a lot. But then it's like, how do you speak up for your own experience without erasing other people's experiences? So it's like when you're mixed, you can't just say this is the black experience, period. It's like, no, you have a very niche experience. You're not the monolith, and you shouldn't speak over other people's voices, but you should figure out a way to find your own voice within, you know, the world. Lots of great conversations in this book, and I'm surprised how little people talk about this. Okay, and then over here I have some more favorites, except for this one of the good ones I still actually need to read very soon, but I loved Root Magic by Ian Royce. I have a whole live show for this. Great book. Also, This Time Will Be Different. An amazing book. Talks about abortion, talks about Asian hate, talks about the minority myth, about like Asians being better minorities because of X, Y, and Z. Definitely read this book or Google it if you haven't read any of that. It's a very interesting concept, and this book is all wrapped in with some serious ideologies and like big themes while also tackling just this girl's feelings. And then we also have Eliza and Her Monsters, which is another favorite, kind of similar to Fangirl, about a girl struggling with anxiety, depression, and also really being into the comic book realm. She literally makes her own comic books. Highly recommend if you're looking for that kind of representation. And then for the little knickknacks on this shelf, we have this sand jar. That is so tiny, but I got it when I was like graduating high school. My teacher was a little kind of sappy, and he was like, "This is a jar of sand from Hawaii, so you can always be home even if you're far away." And then I got this plant again at like the dollar store. It's a fake plant, so it just chills there. And then I got a snow globe from Hawaii that has a little honu in it, a little turtle. It's definitely, yeah, this is definitely one of my favorite snow globes. This is like the Hawaii vibes. We got like jungle, we got the little sand here in the corner, we got Hawaii, we got plants. We love the vibes. We got more books. Let's talk about some faves on this shelf. So this is again mostly green, but a favorite of mine is The Love and Lies of Roxana Ali. A lot of people talked about it when it was released. I still want to hype this book up. It's so good, about a girl who is queer, and when her family finds out, they literally send her away to, I forget where in India, but they send her away so that way she gets corrected, because her family is like very religious and very conservative. So I highly recommend The Love and Lies of Roxana Ali by Sabina Khan. And then we have Nevermore by Jessica Townsend, a great middle grade I highly recommend. We got Insurgents. We have some James Baldwin. I actually need to read this. I've been wanting to read more classics and things like that. A Little Life, I haven't read. Just, it's so massive. And I have the audiobook for it, and I got like 50 pages in, but I realized like just wasn't the vibe just yet. But eventually I'll be one of those tacky YouTubers who are like crying in their thumbnail being like, just read A Little Life. Okay, we have some books from Mary Lou, The Young Elites, a little cactus plant that's totally fake. The 5th season, again, a first in this series that I haven't started, but I do really want to read it. I know it's a good sci-fi fantasy story. And then we have this stunning big murder weapon book, because it's huge, but it's The Serpent's Curse by Lisa Maxwell, which is the 3rd installment of the Last Magician series. What, literally a favorite series of mine. I need to do a whole video of my favorite series. Let me know if you want that, comment below. We're halfway there, kids, we're halfway. So here we start the blue shelf, which I actually really like because the blue is pretty consistent all the way across. I think it looks really, really dope. So this shelf is mostly dark blues, so some stories that pop out that I really love. The Sorcery of Thorns, an amazing like YA fantasy. Legendborn, I actually haven't read yet. I'm hoping to get to it. And one of my favorite duologies, Carve the Mark by Veronica Roth. Like, I feel like no one really talks about this series as much, but it's definitely just an all-time favorite. I've reread it twice, and I just think it's a really fun sci-fi with some fantastical elements. Highly recommend if you're getting into duologies, science fiction, all that. And then I have Amari and the Night Brothers Facing Out, because it is just stunning and beautiful. Let me bring you in closer so you can see how beautiful. Oh, I have some random candles from Book Stuff that I just like keep here, even though I don't like candles very often. We have the Binti Trilogy by Nnedi Okorafor, another Mary Lou book, The Midnight Star, which I think is the last book in the Young Elite series. Oh, Throne of Glass, that's what the series is called. I have all of them because it's, again, my sister's favorite series, and I do want to read it eventually. Oh, another Mary Lou book. This one I really enjoyed, The Kingdom of Back. This one was like almost like a period piece. It felt like it's the story of Mozart's sister. It was wild. It made me really want to punch every guy in the face. Next, Ibby's The Boys American Street is also a great book that I really love. Redempture by Jordan E. Fueco. We have Crescent City 2, which I'm not picking up because, again, big giant murder weapon for no good reason. The Cost of Knowing, I really need to get to. Sliding over to the favorite books that I have in the blue color, blue category. So we have, like I said, The Last Magician. Let me pull it out because it's a stunning book. So here we have The Last Magician in all its glory. I've probably read this book like 3 times now, and each time I really love it. Mostly because of the banter between Esta and, what's the guy's name? I love Esta, clearly. She's my all-time favorite. So this is an urban fantasy with time travel, and we are stuck in New York because there's like literally a magical bubble around New York that if you're a magician and you pass through, you die because it zaps all your powers. So in this world, we kind of fear magicians and magical powers, so we try and trap and oppress them. And our main girl, Esta, is in our present day New York, and she's going back in time to hopefully save the future. Here is Strange the Dreamer, which I talked about before, by Laini Taylor. Yes, this copy doesn't match the copy I showed earlier. I just think this is hilarious how like different, like can you see the difference in size? I don't know what happened here, but it was just funny. But this is definitely a favorite story of mine. Laszlo Strange, the librarian studying a world that is disappearing, and he goes and finds it, and it's not what he expected. Okay, other favorites. Piecing Me Together by Rainey Watson. All-time favorite book. It was like the first book that I ever saw myself in. A couple other favorite books. American Panda by Gloria Chow. An amazing book. Talks about like parental expectations when you're a first-gen kid. Really love the representation. We have A Taste for Love by Jennifer Yang. This is a Pride and Prejudice retelling, but with a cute like baking twist, baking competition twist. Very fun. Then we have Christina Forrest's first book, her debut, I Want to Be Where You Are, all about a girl who wants to be a ballerina, and her mom's maybe like, hey, don't do that. Like, being an artist is questionable. And she ends up getting stuck in a road trip with a guy she despises. And then last one on this shelf is Full Disclosure by Cameron Garrett, which is great. It has HIV positive rep because a lot of people have a misconception of HIV that like you're gonna die or everyone's gonna catch it, but it's like we have a lot of modern medicine that are really helping people live long and healthy lives nowadays. And this book also has great theater representation. Our main character is directing Rent, which is also a story about HIV. It's just a very full circle book. Very cute. I hope those don't fall. But next I have a snow globe from Seattle, which is a fun little Seattle snow globe that I got from my brother because he lived in Seattle for a few years. And I have a book candle from a book series. I don't even know which book series. We have more blue books. Could have guessed it. Oh my gosh, we are hanging in strong. Stay hydrated, guys. So we have the next book in that duology I was just talking about by Veronica Roth, The Fates Divide. Epic. Love that duology so much. Ooh, I've been reading The Water Dancer for like months. Love it, but it's definitely like one of those books that I like want to read piecemeal for like really no good reason, but I am enjoying it. A first in a series that I really want to start reading, Song of Blood and Stone. I have Divergent. I have Shadow and Bone, which I actually haven't read. I just have the first in the series for no good reason. Besides like Red Queen, which I think you guys know is already a favorite, just lots of blue books here. I love this sci-fi, basically a crazy universe where there's two giant forces at war, red team and blue team, and then two people from the opposite teams fall in love. It's crazy because it's like one of those science fictions that doesn't really explain how anything is done, but they can like manipulate the world and all this stuff. It's like really fun. It's definitely a book that I want to reread like 7 billion times because I feel like I missed a lot in the first read. Oh, and I also really want to read Pachenko. I got into like, I want to say 50 pages of this. I know there's a movie adaptation coming out, so I'm highly looking forward to this. Oh, this shelf is like the reason why I kind of stopped collecting snow globes. Do you see this little sad bean? He broke. It is so sad, but I just like put the thing that was in the middle and just like put it inside, and now I just keep it on the shelf, and like it makes me a little sad. Snow globes are not easy to travel and move with, and I travel and move literally every year. So then I have this really fun snow globe from when I went to Disney World in 2014 in a cheer competition thing. So little basic snow globe from Disney. I randomly have this Stitch licking what's it called, shave ice, which, you know, super Hawaii. Like, we love the Hawaii vibes. Okay, now we have this purple shelf. It is going to start getting darker because we are towards the bottom of my shelf, but it's very, very purple. I actually kind of love how this turned out. I was surprised. I used to actually lack a lot of purple books, but recently I think I've been just getting a lot more. First book I want to mention is Loveless by Alice Oseman, which has asexual rep. Second book that I have read that has really good ace rep. I definitely highlighted, I don't know if you can tell on the edge of the book, I like pinpointed a bunch of quotes that I really, really loved and connected to. Highly recommend. Ooh, this was a favorite book of last year that I mentioned. You can see I tabbed it up. And it is If I Tell You the Truth by Jasmine Kaur. Really good. There are bits of like poetry in here and also some narrative voice. It's all about the story of this mom and daughter who travel, or the the mom's story is really tragic in the sense that she was sexually assaulted and leaves the country and starts to illegally live in Canada because she doesn't feel safe going back, and she has the daughter that happened because of the sexual assault. So there's a lot of trigger warnings. There's a talk about like police brutality and the injustice of like the immigration system and sexual assault. So it talks about a lot of deep stuff. Ooh, a favorite contemporary of mine for like really no good reason besides the fact that I think that it's a Cinderella retelling, and it's Geekorella by Ashley Poston, I think is how you say their name. This was such a fun read. One of the first books that I physically read in a very long time, because I normally love listening to audiobooks with certain books, with most books, like 99.999% of my books I read with an audiobook. And this was one that I didn't because it was just so engaging. I really loved the perspective of the male in this book because he was an actor and he had so much judgment and resentment for like his career choices, his appearance, and it's like, hey, it's all marketing. Like, don't judge him. Like, he can still be a big nerd and be an actor. So it was just like, I loved everything they talked about. They talked a lot about like colorism. His perspective was definitely my favorite of this book. Ooh, this was such a good contemporary. So fun. All the Things We Never Knew by Leora Tamani. Besides the fact that it's a stunning book, the aesthetic is everything, but it's so cute. It's about two kids who play basketball. One doesn't really want to anymore, but during her parents' divorce, which is a recent occurrence because her dad has a side family that they did not know about, that it just comes up. So yeah, lots of drama that she's dealing with. And on his side, his mom passed away during his birth. So there's a lot of shame and self-hatred that are discussed and from his point of view. And it's so interesting. So these two are dealing with some very traumatic stuff, and they come together and they talk about love, but the ending will surprise you. And that's all I'll say about this, because I think it's very realistic how it talks about love. And it's also just super fun and super witty. So if you like Maureen Goo, definitely check this one out. This is the next book after Black Girls Must Die Exhausted. Black Girls Must Be Magic. Very hyped to read this. Ooh, this book is a favorite of mine. Highly recommend. Pride by Ibby Zaboy. It's a Pride and Prejudice retelling. It talks about gentrification, sister love, roles that women have, like should they just get married and yada yada. Like, it talks about so many good things, and it's written so well. Ibby Zaboy, please come out with more YA stories. I love them dearly, please. And then on this shelf I have this cute little candle, and then I also have this cute little snow globe from 2012. Now we're officially on the black shelves, so the rest of the books are just going to be black, which is fine. On this side we have books that I really want to read. In the middle we have a book series that I recently read and really enjoyed, and on this side we have books that I love. So let's talk really quickly about, let's talk about this. The first book is Daughter of Smoke and Bones, and this is the last book. It's a trilogy. It's Dreams of Gods and Monsters. Laini Taylor does such a good job discussing like morally gray issues, like war, who's bad, who's good. This is a story all about a girl who is a human, but she is raised by chimera, who are looked on as being devil-like or like demons, and she falls in love, our main character falls in love with an angel, and the two, angels and demons, also known as chimera, have been at war for almost all of existence. No one remembers life before the war, so it's never ending, and these two kind of dream of a world where there wasn't war. It's very touching, very sweet. If you love romantic fantasies, highly recommend this series. I actually didn't like the last one as much as the first two, but still a great overall series. Okay, over here we have some books that I really want to read. Wings of Ebony. This is the next book after A Blade So Black, A Dream So Dark. It's a Alice in Wonderland retelling, but you know, black. We have Light It Up by Kekla Magoon. Kekla Magoon is a great author. I love her work. We have Not So Pure and Simple, which just seems like a real fun contemporary romance. And then Beast of Prey, which is a new fantasy that everyone and their mother is talking about, so I need to read it and, you know, either love it, you know, with everyone or unhaul it quietly. Okay, and then over here I have tons of favorites. So I have Gear Breakers, which was a fun science fiction about like giant fighting robots. I have this book, What Kind of Girl by Elisa Shinmil, which is such an underrated book. It was so good. It talks a lot about like self-harm, what else? Eating disorders, so many trigger warnings, but also it was just really good because it gave you the perspective of lots of women and gave you some statistics on it that a lot of women face these issues and feel really alone and isolated and never reach out for help. So I think it's a very important book. I love Concrete Rose the most out of Angie Thomas's work. I don't know, I just feel like it gave me Dear Martin vibes, which is over here, where you just really deeply care for the main character. So this is a story about Star's dad, Maverick. So when Maverick ended up having like Star and being a dad, it's just his kind of introductory story, and you really, I don't know, you just fall in love with Maverick. Ooh, this one, a favorite, Love Boat Taipei by Abigail Hing Wang. What a great story. I literally just got this, like, the companion novel to this series. I don't know if there's going to be more books in this series, but this is a fabulous book about a girl who has very strict parents, and during one summer vacation they send her to Love Boat, which is a school where it's kind of meant to connect students together romantically, help them find the person they're supposed to fall in love with, but also help them connect to their roots. It is very dramatic, very Gossip Girl, high energy, like everyone's super rich and privileged, but the book talks about that, so it's great. They also talk about race. We got more Jacqueline Woodson, a favorite, If You Come Softly. Definitely cried my eyeballs out reading that. Dear Martin, also cried my eyeballs out reading this. A favorite, as you can tell by the tabs, by Nick Stone. Dear Martin is about a boy who is of privilege. He's trying to go to an Ivy League school. He goes to a nice private school that's well funded, and he feels like he doesn't have to face a lot of the issues that the black community does, until one day he actually gets arrested for being at the wrong place at the wrong time and looking wrong, if you know what I mean, wearing a hoodie and whatnot. So after this really scary traumatic event, he starts writing letters to Martin Luther King and being like, what the F, dude? How can you remain so peaceful when I want to, tear the world apart? Okay, very quickly, we have The Weight of the Stars, which is a great, it's so hard to see with these leaves. This is a great contemporary that has a little speculative fiction in it. Highly recommend. I've talked about that recently on my channel. And then I have another Maureen Gu book, I Believe in a Thing Called Love. Super cute. A girl uses K-dramas to help her with her romantic life, which I do not recommend, but boy does it make an interesting book. Okay, now we have some kind of brown books. Quick tip, if you're ever doing a rainbow shelf, put your kind of uglier books closer towards the edge of the shelf, and keep your prettier books in the middle because your eye is always kind of drawn towards the center. So this shelf, let's see, I feel like most of these books I haven't read. I recently got Just Kids that I'm excited for. I have this Cassandra Clare series that I haven't read. This is definitely one of those book outlet purchases that was a mistake. I also have I Know Why the Cage Bird Sings, which is something I am currently reading. And then, let's see, I have a bunch of fun books. Like I have Don Quixote, a giant murder weapon classic. Oh, the leaves fell. It's huge. It's supposed to be one of those books that is like an all-time favorite. Ooh, this is the book that really got me into Kekla Magoon, besides How I Went Down, The Rock and the River. Such a good book. It's about a boy who grows up. He's in Chicago, 1968, and his dad is in the civil rights movement, works with Martin Luther King, and his brother is a Black Panther. So if you know, those are two very different ideologies in one household, and this boy is kind of stuck in the middle, which just offers such great, it's a great book, and it just dissects all angles of this really prominent issue of how do you handle race issues, prejudice, how do you manage any of these social issues? Okay, y'all, we are getting down to the last few shelves. We're gonna power through. Okay, let's talk about some books. We have this sci-fi series that I'm really into. I've read Red Rising, and then I'm hoping to finish it out soon, but it's just like cool. It's kind of like Red Queen in a sense, where there's a obvious hierarchy of people, and the bottom is the red people, and they're like mining for the higher ups in this world, but it gets scientific because as you go higher up in the hierarchy, you actually can modify your body to like have wings and really cool shit. And it's also like they live on Mars and different planets, lots of really fun sci-fi stuff. Another book I really enjoyed is Once Upon a Time Red's Untold Tale. If you like the TV show, you'll definitely love this book. We have A River of Royal Blood, a fun YA fantasy. Ooh, I'm also surprised by how much I like A Wrinkle in Time. I have Daughters of Neri, which is a duology. I've read the first one, need to read the second one. Ooh, I have Walking in the Wind by John Lewis, which I'm so excited for. I was hoping to read it during Black History Month. Clearly, I did not because I'm a failure. I have some fantasies. These are like 2 fantasies I always recommend. So this one is a fae fantasy, which is like fairy fantasy world, an enchantment of ravens when an artist gets kidnapped by a fae prince. Intense. And then I have another retelling, Girls Made of Snow and Glass. So this is a story of the evil queen, but maybe she's not so evil, and maybe some of those characters are gay. That's how I describe it. It's a very, very good YA fantasy. We have The Chronicles of Narnia, some mangas, I, Robot, which I really want to read, and then scooting over to this side. Again, we're back to like favorites. A lot of the middle shelf is my favorite books. So we have The Black Witch, which is in a stunning YA fantasy series. I mean, this could be classified as new adult because technically she's like 18 and going into college and is going to progressively get older, but I just count it as YA because she is like 18. But it's just such a fun series. I recently described it, I believe, in my book haul when I just hauled The Demon Tide. I'm hoping to do a whole reading vlog, reading through all these books in one sitting, and crying my eyeballs out. These next few books, oh my god, these are like literal favorites because I'm such a DC Marvel fan. Obviously, Marvel movies are superior in my personal opinion. But DC comes out with some great comics and, surprisingly, great books. Besides Superman, we pretend that didn't happen. And I also got this random candle from, I think, my last roommate. She gifted it to me when we were moving out. So it's just hanging out here being all cute. And then we have our last shelf, which has a lot of series, I just realized. So we have the Dark Throne series, or like 3 Dark Thrones series by Kendar Blake. I really enjoyed it. I still actually need to read the last one, so again, might do a whole reading vlog, rereading all the books. Next, we have the trilogy, the Ash Princess trilogy, which I thoroughly enjoyed. I definitely feel like I could binge that series again because the first one was definitely more cutesy, romantic, fantasy, YA. Oh, I'm a damsel. But then, as the series goes on, like literal war and terror and like body count goes up and up. The stakes just get so high and it becomes so much bigger than just the first book of escaping and surviving. It becomes, how do I reshape the world? And it's just a very, very interesting trilogy. Then we have Children of Blood and Bone. I really enjoyed the first one, so I hope the last one comes out soon. At this point, we just waiting. Ooh, as I was just saying, Love Boat Taipei has a sequel, so this is Love Boat Reunion. These books just have like the best cover art, you know what I mean? Just really stunning. Then we have Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. I was in the boat of people who loved this book and can't wait for the next one to come out. And then I have some series here that I have purchased but haven't really like gotten into. That was a lot. Thank you so much for staying to the very end. If you've made it to this point in the video, leave below this emoji so I know you are the real MVP.